Most tragic love stories stem not from hatred or betrayal, but from unspoken words, misplaced fear, and cruel, lingering silence. This is the story of Lila Hale and Jude Vera, two gentle, lonely souls who found solace in each other beneath a university observatory's starry sky, only to lose years of love to misunderstanding, pride, and the habit of bearing pain alone. At 20, Lila Hale was quiet, meticulous, and endlessly fascinated by constellations. She worked part-time at the campus observatory, tending telescopes and assisting with public stargazing events. What drew her to stars was not their beauty, but their persistence. They burned bright and held their form even when hidden by clouds or darkness. To her, that quiet steadfastness was the purest form of courage. Shy and chronically overlooked by family and peers, she felt invisible in daily life. Only beneath the stars did she feel truly seen. Jude Vera, a reserved astrophysics graduate student, was a regular late-night presence at the observatory. Unlike other students who rushed through their work, he stayed for hours analyzing distant galaxy data, his mind always drifting to far-off celestial spaces. Raised as the sole caregiver for his chronically ill mother, he'd grown up balancing endless part-time jobs, academic pressure, and the weight of household responsibility. Hardship had molded him into a careful, self-reliant man who feared selfishness and avoided emotional attachment, convinced joy was always temporary and destined to be taken away. Their meeting was unassuming yet fateful. On a cool autumn night, Lila calibrated a telescope, her gloved fingers brushing the lens, when Jude's soft voice cut through the observatory's hush. "Your focus is too wide. It'll blur the star trails." Flustered, she turned to find him standing in the shadowed doorway. He stepped forward gently, leaned over the control panel, and adjusted the aperture for her. Their hands nearly touched, and a still electric tension settled over the room. Quiet but unmissable after that night, they fell into a natural, comforting routine. They worked side by side through long evenings, shared cold sandwiches on the observatory balcony, and talked for hours about their lives, dreams, and quiet sorrows. Lila opened up about her lifelong sense of invisibility and how stargazing anchored her. Jude spoke softly of his mother's fragile health, his constant financial stress, and his fear of loving deeply. For every good thing he'd ever had been fleeting, love grew between them slowly, inevitably, like moonlight spreading over still water. No grand gestures marked their bond. It lived in small, precious moments. Shy hallway smiles, late-night conversations about the future, and the rare comfort of being fully understood. For the first time, Lila stopped feeling like an observer of life. For the first time, Jude was not just a caregiver or a student. He was simply alive, hopeful, and loved. By winter, they were quietly dating, cherishing their private, steady romance far from campus attention. Lila allowed herself to imagine a permanent future. A shared apartment, quiet weekends, a life rooted in stability instead of the uncertainty she'd always known. She believed their gentle, persistent love would outlast semesters, distance, and time. But darkness loomed quickly, shattering her fragile hope. Jude's mother suffered a sudden, severe health decline. Her respiratory complications worsened drastically, requiring urgent specialized treatment 3 states away. Overnight, Jude's world collapsed into endless hospital waits, mounting medical bills, and crippling pressure. He abandoned his late-night observatory visits, grew distant in texts, and replied to Lila only with short, exhausted messages stripped of warmth. He was drowning in crisis, too overwhelmed to explain, too accustomed to suffering alone to ask for support. Lila tried to be patient, telling herself he only needed space. But silence bred doubt. One day on campus, she saw Jude laughing casually with Mia, a fellow graduate student, who touched his arm mid-conversation. The sight ignited insecurity she could not quiet. The growing distance between them already haunted her, and this small moment snowballed into a devastating misunderstanding. Unbeknownst to Lila, Mia was only helping Jude coordinate pending research deadlines while he balanced hospital duties. Pure professional kindness, with no romantic intent. Worn down by uncertainty and loneliness, Lila confronted Jude on a cold, rainy evening. She found him alone in the once warm observatory, packing his laptop, the room now cold and hollow without their laughter and quiet talks. "You're pulling away from me," she said, voice shaky but firm. "You never talk to me anymore. You're always with Mia. Am I just waiting for you to end us?" Jude was exhausted, drained by weeks of sleepless hospital nights and unrelenting stress. Every part of him ached to confess the truth. His mother's crisis, his fear of burdening her, his desperate love for the only light in his dark life. But pride and self-sacrifice won out. He believed his chaotic, unstable life would ruin Lila's peaceful future. He thought pushing her away was kindness, that letting her hate him would help her move on faster to a better, easier life. "Maybe you are," he said quietly. His words sharp and hollow. Lila's heart crumpled instantly. She searched his eyes for the tender boy who'd stargazed with her until dawn, who'd told her she mattered, but found only cold distance. "So this was always temporary for you," she whispered. Jude did not correct her. "I think it's better if we stop." Without another word, Lila walked out into the pouring rain and never looked back. Every sweet memory of their time together turned bitter. She believed their love had been one-sided, a fleeting casual fling she'd foolishly idealized. Their relationship ended in total silence. No explanation, no closure, no chance to fix the cruel misunderstanding that had torn them apart. The semester ended soon after. Desperate to escape the haunted town that held all her broken memories, Lila graduated early and moved east for a publishing internship. She built a new life, made new friends, and dated casually, but no one ever made her feel seen the way Jude had. No one understood her love for stars or cherished quiet moments with her. She buried her grief deep, labeling their romance a youthful mistake, and convinced herself she'd moved on. Jude stayed behind, consumed by his mother's treatment and endless research deadlines. He never reached out to clarify the truth, clinging to his misguided belief that he'd protected her. For 18 months they had zero contact, two lonely souls grieving the same lost love in total isolation. Slowly, Jude's mother recovered. Her condition stabilized, the emergency hospital visits ceased, and the constant weight of crisis lifted. As his life calmed, the full gravity of his mistake crashed over him. His selfless protection had been nothing but cruel cowardice. His silence had destroyed the person he loved most. Racked with regret, he searched relentlessly for Lila, but she'd erased all traces of her old social media, leaving no address, no number, no way for him to find her. He replayed their final fight every night, hating his pride and his fear. Fate intervened unexpectedly when a national astronomy conference brought Lila back to her old university town. She attended solely for work, never expecting to cross paths with her past. But on the conference's final evening, wandering the quiet lobby, she heard a voice she'd never forgotten. "Lila." She turned to see Jude, older, quieter, his features sharpened by time and grief. His eyes still holding the soft gravity she remembered. Years of separation stretched thick between them as they stared, frozen in place. "I didn't know you'd be here," Lila said cautiously, her heart racing with old hurt and lingering longing. Jude stepped forward slowly, afraid to startle her. "I teach physics here now. I've wanted to find you for so long." Old hurt flared sharp in Lila's chest. "Why now?" "To apologize for ending everything without a word." His face crumpled with guilt. "I owe you the truth. All of it. I never got to explain." They moved to a quiet outdoor bench beneath a dark, star-dusted sky, the same sky that had once bound them together. There Jude laid everything bare. His mother's life-threatening illness, the crushing medical debt, the endless sleepless nights at the hospital, and his fear that his chaotic life would drag Lila down. He explained Mia's role as nothing more than a research collaborator, and confessed his terrible choice to stay silent. "I thought pushing you away would protect you," he said, voice raw with remorse. "I thought if you hated me, you'd move on and find someone who could give you the stable, easy life you deserved. I was proud and stupid. I couldn't let you see me broken, so I let you believe the worst. I lost you trying to save you." Lila sat frozen as every painful memory rearranged itself in her mind. All those months of self-doubt, of believing she was unlovable, of grieving a love that had never truly ended. All of it had been unnecessary. Their breakup had never been a loss of love. It had been two scared, broken people who'd never learned to lean on each other. "You let me think I wasn't enough," she whispered, tears stinging her eyes. "You let me believe every good thing we had meant nothing." "It meant everything," Jude replied instantly. "You were the only hope I had through every dark day. I just didn't know how to love you without breaking you." The truth did not erase their scars overnight. Forgiveness was not instant. Lila still carried the pain of his abandonment. Jude still drowned in guilt for hurting the person he'd sworn to cherish. But the fog of misunderstanding finally lifted, and they saw each other clearly for the first time in years. In the weeks that followed, they reconnected slowly and gently. They walked beneath the stars at night, talked through every unresolved hurt, and admitted their shared faults. Lila had assumed the worst instead of seeking clarity. Jude had chosen isolation over trust. Their second chance was no fairy tale restart. It was quiet, humble, and hard one, built on repentance, honesty, and mutual understanding. Months later, on a clear night in their old observatory, Jude stood beside Lila at the telescope and spoke the words he'd withheld for years. "I don't want to miss another star with you. I don't want any more silence between us." Lila smiled through her tears, hope blooming in her chest. She'd once believed their story was a tragedy, but she now understood. The strongest love stories are the ones that break and heal, that survive fear and silence and lost time. They took their second chance slowly, no longer rushing for grand futures or empty promises. They learned to speak plainly, to ask for help, to choose honesty over pride and presence over protection. Love, they finally understood, was never the absence of struggle. It was choosing each other through every struggle, through silence and misunderstanding, through separation and healing, through all the quiet, fragile spaces between the stars.